This is Jim from Weird Nashville, and today we're going to take a look at a product that is just now being advertised in the collectibles market. It is basically a 2-foot model of the USS Enterprise from Star Trek The Next Generation. And in order to really appreciate it, we're actually going to take a look at the history of 2-foot Next Generation models, because believe it or not, they actually go quite a way back. So this is where our 2-foot model story begins. Shown here with the Next Generation visual effects supervisor Gary Hutzel, it was built in 1986 as part of 2 Starship Enterprises that were designed for Star Trek The Next Generation. The 2-foot model and a 6-foot model. The 6-foot model was the one that the saucer should separate from the star drive. They used the 2-foot model until somewhere in the middle of season 3, when they replaced it with stock video footage that they had taken of it before, because they had supplemented with a brand new 4-foot model that was far more detailed and allowed them to do some more elaborate shots than they had expected they would need during the original pilot. I think one of the reasons that fans tend to like the 2-foot models versus, say, the 4-foot model is that it's easier for you to be able to display them on standard household furniture. 24 to 30 inches is not all that difficult. 48 to 50 inches, well, that would fill an entire table. So I think that's why we have a tendency to focus on the 2-foot models as we look throughout the history that we'll talk today and anything that you might search on the internet going forward. So enter Eaglemoss's Hero Collector and their new Build the USS Enterprise Ncc-1701-d project. Widely known for their Starship model collection, where they make between 5 and 10-inch detailed models, this would be their first 27-inch model produced under the Star Trek license. Using a subscription approach, owners would pay in 120 installments. Each month they would receive a small amount of model components to assemble and wire. No painting or glue would be used. The model is made from pre-painted pieces of die-cast metal and would screw together. The cost, when completed, is approximately $2,000 US. So exactly what is a part work? More popular in Europe than it is here in the United States, a part work kit is sent out one part at a time. Each part is then assembled into a larger part at a later date. The order of each part chosen is based on its original location on the finished model. For instance, if you were doing a part work car model, your wheels would ship to you based on when you would be most likely to attach them to the axles. In Eaglemoss's case, they will ship you 4 parts each month. Added to each shipment, monthly gifts would be included. Most prominently, these will be things like glossy printed inserts and notebook sheets relating to the current month's package. At least 5 times during the entire 30-month process, and yes, you did hear me right, it will take you 2.5 years to complete this part work project. They will also ship you special gifts such as mugs, cases, pins, posters, and things of that nature. Upon subscribing, you'd also be given the option of paying an additional $1 in each shipment to get their deluxe lighted base to display the model on when it's completed. What you see revealed here is a quick overview of the actual details that are included on this model. Rather than being a true duplicate of the actual 2-foot filming model, they used a composite of various details that were available across the entire set of 3 studio models. Remember, Paramount actually completed a 4-foot studio model, which in turn became the most detailed of the 3 models. So it makes some sense that Eaglemoss would look at how the Enterprises appeared optically on the screen as the seasons passed. However, producing a project such as this is not without its risks, and the history of 2-foot Enterprise D models has not been without an alarming amount of shocking failures. To start with, we have Eaglemoss's own attempt almost 2 years ago to launch this same part work. They actually produced 2 parts before they began halting the sale and going back to the drawing board for what would be approximately another 18 months or so. People who paid for the first 2 parts were offered a refund. That has not always been the case in some of the circumstances with other companies, so +1 for Eaglemoss. Please note that when you're searching on the net for information on the most current offerings from this on Eaglemoss, you're going to see some photos mixed in with the current model of the old model. And the old model, aside from being old model, there were some inaccuracies that are not brought forward. For instance, you'll see on the screen here, the blue boxes highlight the fact that the navigational deflector array is blue, whereas in the new model, it has more of a reddish shade to it. Also, one of the ways you might be able to tell an old model from a new model shot is that the stand that the new model is mounted on is a black stand with some articulated screws right under the Enterprise. The stand the older model was displayed on 2 years ago was a silver stand that pretty much attached to the star drive section. So if you see something in some of the photos, like some people have complained on the internet that they saw imperfections in the way that some of the nacelles were painted, or it looked like they had some aberrant lines that didn't belong. Keep in mind those photographs were from the model that was aborted. They're not on the new model coming forward, which is really nice. The very first attempt to do a 2-foot model of the Enterprise D happened in 2011 from, ironically, an Italian company called Agostini, and was to be produced in Japan. A true part work approach, it would come in approximately 100 issues, and it would feature not only the external details of the model, but as you can see from some of the photographs in the bottom right hand corner, the left hand side of the model would open up to reveal individually printed optic sheets that would show you everything that was on each individual deck of the USS Enterprise. To fill this out with detail that had never really been done before, they used the talents of Mike Akuda and Rick Sternbach, who of course might as well be the godfathers of the Enterprise, to create the 3D removable floors. This was really going to be an awesome thing. They actually got about 7 of these created and sent out, and then Japan got hit with that earthquake and tsunami. I mean, let's be realistic, guys. When your world is almost single-handedly destroyed by an act of nature, then suddenly part work kits really don't have that much of what I would consider to be an important value with fans at that point in time. So I can understand why DeAgostini canceled the project. It's a shame it never saw the light of day. I don't think any of the individual pieces, none of the work really, I don't was ever reused in anything else, which is sort of a shame. As Kang said once, it would have been glorious. Next up is another tragic story from Chronicle Collectibles, this one much closer to home. It was introduced in the 2019 San Diego Comic-Con, which is where you see the video from up there. They had decided that they were going to actually do a 24-inch Enterprise D from Next Generation. One slight difference is this was not to be a kit. You were actually going to buy this fully assembled for about $2,000. Really beautifully detailed. It was amazing. This company, Chronicle Collectibles, made a large amount of licensed reproductions from Jurassic Park to Star Trek to Star Wars. It was some amazing quality here. I'm not 100% sure exactly what their problem was, but it didn't really end up delivering. Originally introduced at about $2,000 during the San Diego Comic Con, folks said, go ahead and reserve one, a $200 non-refundable deposit, and the model was expected to ship at the end of Q4. They even allowed people to set up a payment plan to pay in advance because maybe you couldn't afford the whole $2,000 right up front. Unfortunately, right around October 1st or so of the year, they posted a note on their Facebook profile that had been written by a bankruptcy lawyer saying that they were not really going to be able to continue and there were some issues with paying their creditors. They were going to do the best they could to make sure everybody got the money in a bankruptcy situation like that. And, the people who gave their money, well, first off, the $200 was non-refundable, so that's toast. The people who paid the prepaid would be listed as creditors against the bankruptcy, but they would be prioritized well below the cost of all of the marketing and licensing fees. So the odds are that not only are the $200 people out their money, but Reddit actually has quite a few stories on it that you can search up where people are claiming, that their prepaid money was also gone as well. Really a shame. This one could have been a contender. However, not all my stories end in disappointment and loss. QMX Quantum Mechanics created a 24-inch model that retailed for about $2,000 when it was announced in 2012. It has since become the hot collectible in the Enterprise model market. Unique in that the entire ship was cast in fiberglass, clear fiberglass no less. They simply painted the areas where no lights were to appear. Now this is the opposite of what everybody else did, where they would use metal or resin and then run optics throughout the center of the ship. This allowed an enormous amount of lighted portals that are visible in these pictures. An amazing effect, stunning to say at the very least. Some 240 LEDs were actually placed throughout the entire ship, lighting up more than 2,000 individual windows. The Enterprise also came with, believe it or not, 400 numbered and hand-cut quarter-inch lifeboats directly embedded into the hull. Not mentioned earlier, but something that runs with all the Enterprise models, unfortunately, is in real life, not in outer space, they're top heavy. The front end of the model usually weighs more than the back end of the model, and that makes difficulty in sometimes just being able to design the proper support structures so that you don't damage the model. To accommodate the ship's top heaviness in this case, the display had a custom welded steel support system designed for maximum longevity. This, ladies and gentlemen, this was the holy grail. There's a guy on eBay right now at the time I'm recording this, wants $25,000 for his. I don't think he's going to get that, but I think you understand the point I'm trying to make. Includes our look at the various 2-foot models that were designed for Star Trek The Next Generation's USS Enterprise 1701-d. The Eaglemoss offering is great. I'm almost certainly going to get it. They've done a really good job with all the other Starship models that they've done in the past. I'm also not 100% sure exactly what my work area is going to look like if I'm going to have parts sitting around for almost an entire year or 3 years if it goes that route before I can all put them together. Most people do not leave their modeling area disassembled for that long. I've never done this before though, so I have to give credit to those who have before me that indicate this is a very viable and workable solution. I'm a little concerned, like some people could be, that, hey, what if we get 3/4 of the way through here and something else happens? God forbid, like the tsunami or Hero Collectibles, which was a well-respected company, losing financial solvency. If anything happens over the next 30 months while you're making this model, it jeopardizes the entire model. So that needs to be weighed in as well. The first two parts are available for like $4.95 plus shipping and handling. They will ship them to you beginning in March. You can go to the Eaglemoss website. You can look them up on the web and register for the first two ships. Now, interestingly enough, they're actually going to ship 2 weeks earlier to the United Kingdom. Eaglemoss is based in the United Kingdom. There are some American offices here in the United States, but us U.S. Eaglemoss customers are used to the fact that we tend to get things after the U.K. does. So it's going to premiere like 2 weeks earlier with the U.K. than it does here, which isn't really all that bad. You can actually check out the U.K. store as well. One of the things that is interestingly enough is the freebies that they have photographs of are different from the freebies that they show us on our U.S. site, which I thought was a little bit interesting. So that pretty much wraps up another video for Weird Nashville. Once again, thank you for spending time with us. Please be sure to subscribe so that we can spend some more time together in the future.